time. Sidelong glances of a pigeon kicker is one of my personal favorites, back from 1969, I think. But here's a beauty. Benji the Hunted. You'd think this was an Edward G. Robinson or maybe today an Arnold Schwarzenegger film rather than the adventures of a cute little dog lost in the wilderness. Benji the Hunted, indeed. Actually, the best parts of the story are when Benji isn't hunted by man nor beast, but when he's left to care for 4 cougar cubs, whose mother is brutally shot and killed, I might add, in the beginning of the picture. My advice, walk in about 10 minutes late and you'll just see Benji cuddle the cute cougar kitties. Your kids will appreciate it. The rest of the picture is a chase film, mostly, with Benji on the run first from a wolf. There's Benji battling a bear, and then there's Benji battling a cougar. The cougar, trying to protect its own cub, basically sees Benji as lunch. I wish there had been more, aren't they cute shots like this one of the kitties crossing a creek. After a while, with Benji being chased and attacked so often, saving the cub so often, Benji the dog and Benji the movie, Benji the Hunted, exhausted me. This is the first time I wanted to tell a dog to slow down and stop to smell the flowers. I can't recommend Benji the Hunted.
Well, there is a little suspense in the movie. Like, for example, will Benji be able to protect those cougar cubs until they get big enough to eat him? But I don't know, Gene. Your review is the typical sort of blasé, sophisticated, cynical review.
I'll take the word sophisticated.
I would expect from an adult. This movie is not for adults. This movie is for children. Right. I can remember what it was like to be 6 years old, 8 years old, to see a movie that's 90 minutes long, only has about 100 words of dialogue. It's about a dog in the wilderness, beautiful photography, those cute little cougar cubs, which you mentioned, the magnificence of the other animals, the adventures, the little kittens crossing the stream, the very shot you pointed out. This movie is a movie that kids would really enjoy.
No, you know what they should see? Roger, my rebuttal of this film is, you're wrapping yourself in the flag of children, and I'm saying, go see the Black Stallion instead. There's a film with little dialogue, so much better.
I'm not wrapping myself in the flag of children. You're wrapping yourself in the flag of the sophisticated film critic who's seen it all.
No, boredom with Benji running.
I don't think that any child is going to be bored by this movie, and indeed, I found the nature photography to be very interesting myself.
I recommend film for kids that are good. The Black Stallion is a great film. This is garbage.
I recommend films for kids that are bad, but I'll tell you what, whether it's good or bad, I think kids will really enjoy it.
As it gets. Okay, next movie, and our next film is Home Alone 3. Boy, has this franchise ever run out of gas. Even the star, Macaulay Culkin, is gone. But if his cute little self were in this picture, it wouldn't have made any difference. Home Alone 3 is a stupid slapstick piece of juvenilia as a suburban Chicago kid is home alone, defending himself against constant attack by 4 thugs trying to recover a stolen Air Force computer chip that has mistakenly wound up in his possession.
I see it! It's going through the head!
Turning in position! You're there! I got it!
I got it!
The crooks suffer more blows to the head than a bad heavyweight fighter.
Stand clear. Maybe he's not so clever after all.
Yeah, I just think we're having an off day.
And that goes on and on to the point of nausea. If this movie had a theme song, it would be Dumbbells Keep Falling on My Head. The story makes no sense. I feel for every family that's going to be suckered into seeing Home Alone 3.
Now, this is going to astound you, but I'm giving the movie thumbs up.
It does astound me. Are you okay?
Better than you were the day that you liked Starship Troopers.
Okay. Oh, no.
I'll tell you why I like the movie.
Exciting.
This movie empowers little kids. This is the one where they finally got it right. I liked it better than the other two.
Than the original Home Alone?
It makes little kids love the idea that they can somehow affect the outcome, that they can have power over grown-ups, that they can defend themselves and be smart and think about things.
He hammers thugs in the first one.
And in this movie, it's not as violent as the second one. The kid is charming. He really is a good little actor. And the plot is smarter than the other movies.
We completely disagree. I thought the kid was generic mop top, And I thought that the Home
come
Alone...
on, that kid?
Yes.
Come on.
Yeah, there are only 2 kids.
He's very good.
Culkin's better. And the other thing is, it's the same plot as the first one, only more bumps to the head.
The second, they're all the same plot.
But you just said that this one empowers him more than the other one. Absolutely not true.
That's the secret of the... That's why kids love these movies, because they love the fantasy that they have power.
But it's overdone. Overkill here.
Not for
Overkill.
Not
for you.
Okay, coming up.
Eddie Murphy Raw, and this is the movie I've been waiting for ever since I heard about it, just after I saw and was disappointed by Beverly Hills Cop 2, because that was Eddie Murphy as a wind-up action toy. But Eddie Murphy Raw is Murphy as Murphy in concert with the rawest of language, and he's never been funnier. For example, he names names at the beginning of his concert, putting down hilariously Michael Jackson, and then he puts down Bill Cosby, even worse than Roger just did a while back, who Murphy tells us, Bill Cosby that is, Bill Cosby called Eddie Murphy one day and told him to clean up his stage act.
I ran in the house all excited to talk to Bill and picked up the telephone, and Bill got raw on me. I was like, hello, Mr. Cosby? And you hear, I would like to talk to you about some of the things that you do in your show. Now, you cannot say filth, flarn, filth in front of people. And I never said no filth, flarn, filth. He says, you know what I'm talking about. I can't use the type of language that you use, but you know what I mean when I say filth, flarn, filth. And I said, I never said no filth, flarn, filth, and I don't know what you're talking about. I'm offended that you called you.
Like some of the greatest confrontational comics around, Eddie Murphy isn't afraid of offending anyone, and he has a long and hilarious tirade against Johnny Carson's former wife and all wives who want half of their husband's wealth at divorce time.
If you have $5 and have to give somebody $250, you'd be upset. Johnny had to have at least $300 million and have to give up $150 million? And they weren't even married but 10 years and $150 million? Give me a break. What? And ladies, no, here's a woman I'm saying, right on. No, you can't, baby, that's not fair. Not no $150 million. I see a lot of you ladies sitting there going, get all the money you can. I'm glad she did get all that money. She earned it. She earned it. That you damn right. She was married to him. She deserved that money. Get the out of my face with that bull. No. Stop it.
There's not a lot more that we could show you of Eddie Murphy Raw without you hearing more bleeps than words. He's foul, but very funny, talking in brutally honest comedic terms about sex and marriage. The concert tails off at the end somewhat with a tired bit about how badly white people dance. Most of us know that. But more often than not, at least us two, more often than not, Eddie Murphy lives up to the concert film standard set by the man he calls his idol, Richard Pryor. And that is high praise indeed. I really liked Eddie Murphy Raw, and I knew that I would. He should release, I think, a concert film every year because the parts that are written for him, by and large, with the exception of 48 Hours, really haven't been that good.
Gene, I don't think this film deserves comparison to Richard Pryor in any way because what Richard Pryor has is insight and sympathy with the humanity of the people that he's making fun of. And that's the one thing that's lacking in this concert film by Eddie Murphy. It's an extremely juvenile film. The humor is extremely callow. You talk about his attack on Johnny Carson's wife. I don't believe anybody could get away with talking about blacks the way that Eddie Murphy talks about women in this film. On the basis of what he says in this film and the way he uses the key four-letter word as a club, this movie hates and despises and puts down and rejects women and sees them only in terms of their sexual function.
Not at all.
Yes,
not at all. No, let me answer.
Yes,
let me answer. Because the film comes around and goes right back and throws it back at men. Yes, it is more loaded against women than it is against men, but Roger, where is your sense of humor?
It doesn't,
the man is not.
The
man
come
is
around
not.
And throw it at men
Yes,
either.
it does.
Sees everybody in terms of what takes place right between their belt and their knees.
That's
the only part of the human being that he's interested in.
He
doesn't have any interest at all in their personalities, in their problems, in their humanity.
One of their problems
is bathroom humor, Gene.
And it's very funny.
Humor.
It's very funny bathroom humor.
If you think it's funny,
Yes,
then
I
maybe
do.
you need to grow up along with Eddie Murphy.
Oh, Roger,
you could
that's
both go
right.
to Richard
That's
Pryor
right.
and learn how to be a little more mature.
No, let me tell you, it is very, very funny. Oddly, people who haven't seen this film are going to agree, gee, Roger's right, it should be clean, it should be clean.
No, I
You've
didn't
really
say
played
it should
to the
be
audience.
clean. I'm not playing to the audience, and
Yeah.
I'm not saying it should be clean. I have nothing against four-letter language.
Right.
I love it when Richard Pryor uses it. Richard Pryor uses it as poetry. Eddie Murphy uses it as a bludgeon.
Okay, I disagree with you. I think Richard Pryor is a genius. I think Eddie Murphy is getting there.
Split on Eddie Murphy raw.
Our next film is called Dirty Dancing, a provocative title for a film that only occasionally lives up to that billing. It's set in a Jewish summer resort in upstate New York, and in one scene, the young daughter of one of the guests stumbles upon the help doing some sexy dancing to let off steam. Hot, but the movie has been cut from R to PG-13, so it doesn't get much hotter. Telling the story of how that innocent girl, nicknamed Baby, falls in love with the lead dance instructor.
Where'd you learn to be a dancer?
Well, this guy came into this luncheonette one day, and, you know, we were all sitting around doing nothing. And he said that Arthur Murray was giving a test for instructors. So, if you passed, they teach you all these different kinds of dances, show you how to break them down.
He, of course, is working class. Her parents would rather see her get involved with the grandson of the owner of the resort. The dancing in the film is exciting, and even though the story is predictable, will they or won't they get together, I was held captive by the personal magnetism of that young actress, Jennifer Grey, who is so very good as Baby. She also played Matthew Broderick's sister in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I did enjoy watching her grow up, and I think that's what actually happens in the film that makes it so good. We do see a character grow up, and it's on the basis of the dancing and of her performance that I give the film a marginal recommendation.
Well, I know what you're talking about, and the dancing is good. All the best dancing in the movie is between Patrick Swayze, who is that young man, and his professional dance partner.
They're great.
They're great. It was predictable, Gene, come on. And not only was it predictable, but also the whole subplot. There's a subplot involving an abortion, and the young girl's father thinks that the wrong person is the father of the baby.
Not brilliant.
And it's not just not brilliant, it's the idiot plot, what I've always talked about, where one word from any one of three different people in this movie could have collapsed the entire plot, because then the father wouldn't have thought that, and then everything would have been different, and so they all have to be very careful not to say that one word.
In most movies that have idiot plots, you do not have performances this good. I think you'll agree with that, right? And I think the other thing is that you will not see a character grow up. And I'm telling you that this young actress is given a good...
She doesn't grow up. She just moves right along according to the requirements of this pre-canned plot.
She comes to that camp naive, and she grows up at the end of the film.
And that's a cliche, Gene. That's a cliche.
Not the way she plays it. Not the way she plays it.
It's just all by the numbers.
Not the way she plays it.
All by the numbers. The dancing is good. The plot...
She's good. Tell me she's that good.
She's okay.
I think more than okay. Coming up next...
It's not that it isn't ready, sir. It's just that we have so much more testing to do.
Dr. Cooper, is it ready or not?
The boss of a powerful drug company has just issued orders for a new tranquilizer to be rushed into production, with hilarious results in Brain Candy, an audacious, clever, very funny new satire from the comedy troupe known as Kids in the Hall. They play many of their parts in drag, and the joke doesn't stop there. What they have to say is as funny as how they look.
Hi, welcome to the Nina Bedford Show. I'm Nina Bedford. Do you like my new outfit? Happiness. Can it be bought in the form of a pill?
The drug they've designed is a feel-good pill, and it's possible to view Brain Candy as an indictment of the happy as a clam and excited to be one drug called Prozac.
How do you feel, patient 957? Oh. Like a fresh towel drying on the line on a summer's day. Oh, I feel like a little worm peeking its head out of the ground after a rainstorm and seeing no robin.
The brain candy players are also funny just conversing as they put down the artifice of adult behavior in the corporate business world.
I thought of the name for the drug. Gleeman X. Slogan? Gleeman X makes it feel like it's 72 degrees in your head all the time.
I think this is very funny stuff. Brain candy will appeal to young moviegoers who are fans of Kids in the Hall. I've seen them a couple of times on late-night TV, and I often thought they seemed good only by comparison with the recent Saturday Night Live troops. But in Brain Candy, they're funnier than they've ever been on TV, and I recommend this picture as kind of a midnight show cult picture, which I suspect it's destined to become.
Boy, are we apart on this one.
Oh.
I did not laugh once. I thought this movie was awful,
Oh, no, Roger.
dreadful,
No.
terrible,
No.
stupid, idiotic,
No.
unfunny,
No.
labored, forced,
Oh, Roger.
painful.
Roger, this is
bad.
What happened to your sense of humor?
I've
Once in
got
a
my
while-
sense of humor. That was what my sense of humor was starving for a laugh.
Oh,
as I looked
no,
at this
Roger.
movie.
First of all, the drag stuff was
So
funny.
what?
What do you mean? So
Okay,
what? If it's
they're in
funny...
drag.
No,
Why is
no,
it funny? Why is it funny that they're in drag?
It's not funny that they're in drag.
No,
I've
no,
knocked
they're
pictures
not.
where people have been in drag when they're not
No,
funny. I'm
no,
saying,
they're-
obviously,
they're in drag and they're
laughing.
not funny.
You didn't get the stuff about the drug and...
Oh, I caught on.
What happened, Roger?
We're different universes here. We can't talk about it. Can't talk about it. It's not funny. I didn't laugh
We
once.
get paid to talk about it, Roger.
Okay.
Let's talk about
Tell
it.
me one funny moment in the movie.
There are dozens of funny moments. Every
Okay,
time
just
I
choose
see...
one.
Every single time, I laugh throughout the picture.
Okay.
I laugh throughout the
Well,
picture.
I'm happy for you.
No, but, well, at least it's a start. It's a smile. Roger, will you look at this picture again? Maybe...
Sure I will. I'll be happy to. Sometime maybe in the 21st century. When we come back...
Take this stick, and I want you to crack me right on the top of the head, all right?
Forget it.
Honey, you have to do it.
James Belushi and little Allison Porter are homeless in Chicago, but not for long in Curly Sue, one of the big new fall movies we'll be reviewing this week on Siskel and Ebert. I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune.
And I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times. Our first movie is named Curly Sue, and this is a cornball exercise in sentimental manipulation, but I don't care because it works.
What?
Sometimes, even when you think you know all the tricks, a movie will sneak up on you anyway. And at some point during Curly Sue, I honestly started really caring about these characters, maybe because the performances were so warm and convincing. The movie stars James Belushi as a drifter and Allison Porter as a junior league con woman who's been traveling the highways with him. They support themselves with scams like this one where she gives him a bump on the head and he pretends that somebody's car ran into him. They pull their scam on a high-powered lawyer played by Kelly Lynch, and she falls for it. After soaking her for dinner, the two vagabonds hit the road again, although Curly Sue thinks they could have taken her for even more.
We wouldn't even be talking about this if you got some money out of that lady. We'd be on the road. You didn't because she was too pretty.
She was too smart.
And she was too pretty.
She was in a hurry.
And she was too pretty.
She was going to catch on to us.
And she was too pretty.
But their paths are destined to cross again. Curly Sue's big brown eyes melt the lawyer's heart, and she takes them into her home.
This is very excellent. I never knew pizza was so good when it was hot.
Here's a nice quiet moment between the little orphan girl and the woman who has started to care for her.
All the stuff that happens to women, I already know. The boobs, the kissing, the babies, the crabby time, the not wearing lipstick till you're 16, the underwear bank robbers wear on their faces.
There's a little more to it than that.
Curly Sue was written and produced by John Hughes, who writes and or produces about 4 movies a year, but this is the first film he has directed in 2 years, and I think it ranks with his best work like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Yes, it's a simple and predictable story, but plot twists are not what this movie is about anyway. It's a heartwarming fantasy with a lot of warmth and a lot of humor, and to my surprise, I found myself caring about the characters and really getting involved in their story. And by the rude and annoying off-screen noises that you have been emitting, I take it that you do not agree.
I'm floored because I really have at least enough respect for you to think you would fall.
You're the guy that liked the John Hughes movie about the 2 people trapped in the grocery store that even he didn't want to have released.
Okay.
So
career opportunity.
You've got a great track record.
I'll take career opportunities over this picture anytime. My problem was that I didn't like the little girl. I thought she was unctuous. There was no chemistry whatsoever between Belushi and Kelly Lynch. And you could
terrific chemistry.
And
during that piano solo?
No, let me tell you something. You can tell that even Director Hughes knew that there wasn't chemistry because on their concluding kiss, he shoots it from the back of his head. He realizes that if you see these 2 people in profile, that they don't even work together. I wanted to enjoy this picture, and I was surprised that John Hughes, who can do good work, and to compare this to Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, ridiculous. I don't even think you really believe
I really do believe that. Yes, I really do.
Okay.
And to give a thumbs up to career opportunities and then make that statement really undermines your position.
We're reviewing Curly.
My arms are killing me. My butt is really killing me.
We have to go through there.
Their dad is a bush pilot in Alaska, and after his plane is lost in a storm and search parties can't find him, his son and daughter go on an odyssey of their own in the new movie Alaska, which is in the old tradition of real-life nature adventures, but which I found surprisingly entertaining. In the movie, 13-year-old Thora Birch and Vincent Kartheiser as her 15-year-old brother are up against dangerous odds as they make their way into the Alaskan wilderness. They're befriended along the way by a polar bear cub that becomes their guide and inspiration. But the villains in the movie, poachers played by Charlton Heston and Duncan Fraser, are also following the little bear.
I don't think you understand me. Let me be clear. I'm accustomed to getting what I want. I want that bear.
How do modern kids climb a mountain? Well, the same way they see it done on TV.
Belay me.
What?
If I slip, hold the rope.
Okay. Wait a sec. You sure this is how they do it?
It's how they do it on ESPN.
Amazingly, they do find their father, but then the dangers only multiply.
Here, that's on your waist.
You're Ascenders.
What?
The Ascenders is Yellowface. Put them into your rope.
Alaska belongs to a genre I guess you could call kids on a quest in the wilderness, and I hope it doesn't inspire its young audiences to try to make friends with the bears at Yellowstone next summer. But the movie is beautifully photographed and acted in a convincing, straightforward way by the young stars, and on its own level, I enjoyed it. I imagine it's targeted at kids up to about 13, and I think a lot of them are going to love it.
Well, first of all, Roger, I think this, you know how you always say to me, you missed the boat on this one when we were far? You missed the harbor. This is, I think, one of the most laughably bad pictures I've seen in a long time.
Incredible. How can you say that?
I'll say how. Their father is in a plane wreck.
Yeah.
He's far away. Now, the whole story develops with them and the bear cub and all that. You know that the word father, I clocked this, the word father, and this is the movie, not other research, the word father is never mentioned for 40 minutes in this picture.
So what?
They're not talking or acting remotely like kids who's lost their father and trying to find their father.
Your criticism of this movie is utterly irrelevant to the experience of the film on the screen and would be meaningless to anyone seeing the film.
Why? You mean you wouldn't be, it wasn't meaningless to me. I saw it.
You're imagining a totally different picture that should have done something else.
No. What? Be it remotely real?
Would you have
How about this? How about
would you have liked it better if there had been a lot of talk about the father instead of the stuff about the bear cub?
Some talk there should have been about the father. And how about this? The plane is plainly visible where it's wrecked. And there passes by.
It obviously isn't plainly visible to the search plane. That's why it didn't find it.
It's plainly visible to the search plane. That would be a normal search plane. Wait a minute.
You didn't give your sympathy to this movie.
Roger, when you describe, I'm not Nick, I'm on a major story, and the acting,
well, I'm sure
the acting by Charlton Heston.
A lot of 10-year-old kids are going to be saying, "Gee, they didn't."
And now, Roger, you focused on my third point, and that's this: you seem to be reviewing this picture, and I've seen it other times, of what kids will think And I want to remind you of something.
I enjoyed it too, Gene, and I enjoyed Charlton Heston, to get ahead of you here.
Yeah.
I thought that stuff was kind of funny in a satiric way. Okay. He's playing against type.
I just want you to say that you really enjoyed it yourself.
I did enjoy this movie. I enjoyed this movie.
Giant bugs threaten Earth in Starship Troopers, a sometimes spectacular science fiction film that is directed by Paul Verhoeven, pokes fun at the gung-ho killing is fun mentality of old war movies. Here's a group of young college students deciding to join the military.
I've been thinking, and I'm gonna do it, Carmen. This is your shadow. I'm gonna go for federal service.
That's great. Carl and I are signing up tomorrow. Come with us.
And they sign up just in time because on a distant planet, killer giant bugs have launched an attack that ultimately threatens Earth. The computer-generated bugs are awfully impressive on a big screen. The movie makes the case that man is the most dangerous creature on Earth or off. Thrilling to be violent.
Some say the bugs were provoked by the intrusion of humans into their natural habitat, that a live and let live policy is preferable to war with the bugs.
Let me tell you something. I'm from Buenos Aires, and I say kill them all.
Yeah! Oh, yeah! Yeah! Oh, yeah!
Starship Troopers, based on Robert A. Heinlein's novel, is a dazzling-looking film, to be sure. The satire, I think, is broad, and I was bored only by some of the banal byplay between the young cast members. The result, a pretty good popcorn-eating picture, repetitive, but fun.
Too repetitive for me, and I have to give it thumbs down. I enjoyed the satire at the beginning,
yes,
but
I did
then
too.
At the end, and it's a movie that lasts more than 2 hours,
that's why I said
you
repetitive.
get a lot of shots of bugs being blown up. And these bugs, once you master what they look like and what they can do, are pretty boring because they don't have very many resources. They're not real interesting movie aliens like the character, for example, in the movie Alien. And you'd think that sooner or later the troopers would figure out that it's inefficient to try to kill them with machine gun bullets when all it takes is a grenade and you could blow them right up real good.
I may have been intimidated by the sheer artistry. I'm talking about the technical computer artistry of them, because when I saw the masses of them running, I thought of Jurassic Park, frankly, and how exciting it was to see those creatures, which had more personality, to be sure. But the satire constantly throughout it, I enjoyed having exposed the kick of killing, and I thought that was what this director Verhoeven put into the story.
It just goes on and on and on.
It does go on,
and
it could have been cut by 20 minutes.
Easily. Okay, come.
Practically mush.
It was found behind the soft palate of a murder victim. The body was in the Elk River in West Virginia.
It's Buffalo Bill, isn't it?
I'm afraid I can't tell you any more about that.
That's Jodie Foster as an FBI trainee on the trail of a serial killer in The Silence of the Lambs, a depressingly brutal thriller that I found completely lacking in redemptive quality. So I sat there thinking, why are all these talented people involved in this project? Oscar winner Jodie Foster works for an FBI boss who apparently believes that it takes one to know one, and so she pays a visit to another serial killer to track one. First, she is warned to stay clear of him.
Do not touch the glass. Do not approach the glass. You can't see nothing but soft paper. No pencils or pens. No staples or paper clips in this paper.
Both killers have cheap nicknames. The one she is looking for is nicknamed Buffalo Bill. Anthony Hopkins stars as her source of information, the frightening Dr. Hannibal, the Cannibal Lecter, who likes to eat his victims' body parts.
I'm offering you a psychological profile of Buffalo Bill based on the case evidence. I'll help you catch him, Clary.
There is a sporting quality to this story that I found distasteful as Foster again visits with Hannibal the Cannibal.
What is your worst memory of childhood?
Death of my father.
Tell me about it and don't lie, or I'll know.
Eventually, Silence of the Lamb degenerates into a standard monster-in-the-house movie as Foster catches up with Buffalo Bill in his dungeon-like home where a young woman is held captive and terrorized in a well. The horrors of female abuse are too much with this, I think, now to be trifled with anymore in the movies. We had this complaint about the picture involving Julia Roberts. I have it again here. I didn't learn a thing about serial killers from this movie. A much more honest, less exploitive film on the same subject was last year's Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. By contrast, The Silence of the Lambs is a star-studded freak show directed by the usually enormously talented Jonathan Demme, who I think for the first time in his career has picked a surprisingly trashy project.
Well, this is a tough film to review because, of course, in terms of its subject matter, one can easily target it as you have. And also, I think that the ending doesn't really work. Once she gets into the house of Buffalo Bill, it does become a standard who's behind this door, who's going to jump on me from the shadows. The first part of this film, though, Gene, is terrifically effective, partially because of the real tension, the dynamic interaction between Jodie Foster and Anthony Hopkins. It's one of the most peculiar and fascinating relationships I've seen in a movie in a long time. Hopkins is very good here. Foster is very good here. The dialogue is at a very high level of intelligence, and the movie works not perhaps in the same way as Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, but effectively. And I think that you're really shortchanging a lot of skill and craft and art that went into this film.
No, you know, sometimes you say, I think you blew it on this one. I think you're being too easy on this picture in this way. He is presented, the Anthony Hopkins character is presented as this big evil thing, and we're going down there to see them, a journey into hell and all that. And frankly, he was so pumped up, and the music was so pumped up at such a high level
that it worked for me. It worked.
Well, then you're easy, because for me, I thought, oh, come on. A guy who's truly frightening doesn't need, you know, a huge organ playing in the background. I didn't buy it at all.
This is the movies. What did you want? A documentary, black and white, television, shoot it on video?
No, the reason why Henry, the Portrait of a Serial Killer works is because these people, my intuition, I don't have any first-hand knowledge, these people tend to be kind of dull.
Well, they're two different kinds of movies, and you're using one to criticize the other.
Yes, we always do that, Roger. We say better pictures of the same subject.
Why can't you criticize this on its own terms instead of saying what it is?
I'm criticizing on its own terms. I wasn't compelled by anybody except, I suppose, the Jodie Foster character as a strong woman.
Come on, a great performance.
Not a great performance, a decent performance.
Anthony Hopkins,
great.
Named Blue Velvet, and already this movie has caused a firestorm around the country, with some advanced reviews calling it a masterpiece and others calling it sick and depraved, and still others calling it a sick, depraved masterpiece. The movie takes place in a small town where a young couple stumbles over a mystery that begins with the discovery of a severed human ear and leads them to suspect that the ear might belong to the missing husband of a local nightclub singer. Here's the scene where the young couple, Kyle MacLachlan and Laura Dern, make a plan to spy on the older woman.
There are opportunities in life for gaining knowledge and experience. Sometimes it's necessary to take a risk. And I got to thinking, I'll bet someone could learn a lot by getting into that woman's apartment. You know, sneak in, hide, and observe.
Sneak into her apartment?
Yeah.
Are you crazy? Jeffrey, she's possibly involved in murder.
In the movie's most shocking scene, the nightclub singer, played by Isabella Rossellini, discovers MacLachlan hiding in her apartment.
Who sent you here?
Nobody.
I've seen you before.
I sprayed your apartment. I took your key. I didn't mean to do anything except see you.
What did you see tonight? Tell me.
I saw you come in. I saw you talk on the phone.
And then?
We got undressed.
Do you sneak in girls' apartment to see them get undressed?
No, never before this.
Get undressed.
Well, that's a shocking development. Later, MacLachlan befriends her after he finds out Rossellini's husband and son have been kidnapped by a perverted drug addict who has made her his slave.
Who is this?
A friend. He's from the neighborhood. We were just talking.
Oh. You're from the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Your neighbor. But what's your name, neighbor?
Jeffrey.
He's a good kid, Frank.
Hey, you want to go for a ride?
No, thanks.
No, thanks. What does that mean?
I don't want to go.
Go where?
For a ride.
A ride. Now, that's a good idea. Okay, let's go. Let's go. Get your robe.
That's Dennis Hopper as the bad guy there. Blue Velvet is a movie that really challenges you to think about your reactions to it. And my reaction is, I think this movie is cruelly unfair to its actors. It was directed by David Lynch, the same man who made Eraserhead and Dune, and he's a talented director. You can see that here and scenes that have a lot of power. But he asked Isabella Rossellini in this movie to be undressed and humiliated on the screen, as few actresses ever have been, certainly in non-porno roles. And then he tries to take the edge off her shocking scenes by turning the whole thing into some kind of a joke. Well, either this material is funny, in which case you don't take advantage of your stars, or it isn't funny, in which case it shouldn't have so much campy and adolescent dialogue along with the really powerful sexual scenes. Sure, the movie's well made, but the more I thought about it, the less I liked it.
Well, I liked it, and I thought about it a lot, and I think you may be on the wrong tack in trying to feel sorry for Isabella Rossellini, because after all, she consented to do what she did on the screen, number one. Number two, I'm sure she's walking around wherever she lives, New York City or whatever, and survived the whole experience, just like Janet Leigh survived the shower scene in Psycho. So I don't think that that's pertinent. I think what's exciting about the film, and it is challenging, is it starts out with flowers and sunlight, and it's a happy little town, and then we dig deeper and we find out it's a nasty town, or at least a couple of people are nasty. And I sat there, and this did for me, and I use the Psycho example again, this did for me what Psycho did as a lot younger, which is eyes open and, oh my God, we're really getting in over our heads. And that's an experience which is challenging, shocking, but mesmerizing, and I like the picture.
Well, first of all, I don't think I'm on the wrong tack with Isabella Rossellini. In the first place, the movie was shot in 2 halves, so she had no idea, making her part of the movie, that all of the stuff outdoors and in the daylight was going to be smarmy and campy and funny with all kinds of in-jokes. And secondly, it seems to me that we can't divorce our reactions. It's not how Isabella Rossellini reacts to the fact that she's standing there nude and humiliated on the lawn of the police captain's house with lots of people watching. It's how I react. And that's painful to me, to see a woman treated like that, and I want to know that if I'm feeling that pain, it's for a reason that the movie has other than simply to cause pain to her.
Well, I think that the reason is that the film is a thriller and a shocker. I mean, there are people that get hurt badly in real life, and I think that this is a legitimate one. This is not a simple mad slasher
then
movie.
why is it a comedy?
Because he wants to set you up. He's a director, and he wants to play you like all the directors, the great directors want to do. He wants to play you like a piano, which is have you smile and then swing you right into some depression.
Yeah, well, the next time that somebody wants to play me like a piano, he'd better get some music that's worth listening to.
I shouldn't have come here. I must go.
Do not fear me.
That is not a chance encounter in an early London cinema. The man, played by Gary Oldman there, is Prince Dracula, who has waited centuries for the reincarnation of his dead bride, and thinks he has found her in this beautiful young English woman, the fiancée of the prince's attorney, played by Winona Ryder. And the relationship between the undead prince and the object of his ancient obsession is at the heart of Bram Stoker's Dracula, a great-looking but somewhat disorganized new epic of the supernatural from Francis Ford Coppola. Lucy, the young woman's best friend, is played by Sadie Frost, who unwittingly supplies the lifeblood which Dracula needs to maintain his strength. And Anthony Hopkins plays a vampire killer whose suspicions are aroused by her condition.
You do not let your eyes see nor your ears hear that which you cannot account for.
Something just went up there, sucked it out of her and flew away, I suppose?
Yeah, why not?
The movie has all the obligatory graveyard scenes, including this atmospheric confrontation between the vampire killers and Lucy as the walking undead.
Kiss me and caress me, my darling husband, please.
Winona Ryder there plays the young woman who seems to be the reincarnation of Dracula's dead bride, and indeed she seems to feel some special emotion in the presence of the dread prince.
No, oh, I cannot let this be.
Please, I don't care. Make me.
Very holy cursed as I am to walk in the shadow of death for all eternity. I love you too much to continue.
Take me away from all this death.
Francis Coppola's version of Dracula does not have a strong narrative thread to draw us from the beginning to the end of the film. It feels actually more like an opera, with a lot of very emotional climaxes and not much logic in between, and that is both a strength and a weakness. I like the way this movie looked and felt, and I like the energy the actors put into their performances. There were times when they seemed to be playing for the audiences in every theater in the multiplex. I liked the production design, the costumes, the lavish and seductive photography. I liked all of that. What never really moved me very much were the characters. I didn't believe their emotions. They seemed to be playing for effect rather than for motivation. But still, it's a good-looking movie. I recommend it for what I liked about it, but not for the rest.
Yeah, and I'm voting thumbs down, Roger. It is a great-looking picture, but boy, that's all I saw. I was interested early on in the Gary Oldman Dracula, the old Dracula. I thought that was an interesting creation. He looks like some kind of weird grandmother with a beehive hairdo, and I thought that's fresh rather than the cloaked prince that we're usually getting in the films. But beyond that opening sequence, I don't think that the Winona Ryder character was very charismatic at all. Keanu Reeves as the lawyer, I thought was kind of in another century. Well, he is in another century, but I thought it was maybe the 20th century. And I thought it was very disorganized. And yes, Coppola is a master of the visual, but I thought it was a pretty empty picture.
Well, the important thing with a movie of this length and complexity is to have a storyline that is clear enough.
Driven through.
So that people know at every moment exactly who is who and why, and whether we care about them and what's going to happen next. And here you have, as I said before, set pieces in which everything spins around in beautiful pictures, but there's no real emotion.
So then why do you give it thumbs up?
I love the way it looked.
Well, I like the way it looked.
There has to be, you know, thumbs up, thumbs down is such an arbitrary thing anyway.
Not arbitrary.
This movie does things with the visuals of vampirism and the Dracula legend you have not seen done before. I mean, the sets, the costumes, the atmosphere, the music, the special effects.
I know you were bored during it, and I was bored too. I really was.
Well,
Coming up next...
I'm glad you're a mind reader. Maybe you could get a job in the next picture doing your act or something.
Thank you.